Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike.
I'm Johnny Cash.
Woohoo!
I'm not. I don't necessarily wish I was.
I hurt myself today. That's the only song I really like of his. I know it's not his.
Voice is so low. It's so not me. But
Yeah.
no, it's if I fooled you all, it's JT. Ha ha, I gotcha. You're not expecting me to say something fake?
Exactly. Fake news. Well, we hope you've enjoyed episode 100 the last 2 weeks, but we're back to the Crimes of Manitoba today.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
We had a good time recording that 100.
We did.
It was a
It had to be split into 2 because it was long.
It was, but it was fun. It was like kind of sitting around a digital campfire.
Yeah. 3 people in my place and then JT on the internet.
Yeah, it felt very lonely on my side.
I'm sorry.
I'm feeling so lonely, I could cry.
Now you're Elvis?
Well, they don't go hand in hand.
No, they don't.
Whatever.
I don't think they probably get along at all if they're in the same room.
That's my guess. One's got rhinestones, the other one's in all black. So
Yes.
it could have been a fun dual tour, though. Both of them together, like doing 2 sets. That would be fun. It's too late.
Yeah, true. For both, yes.
I'm a genius. It's too bad they missed it.
Exactly. Well, the title of my case is Bloody Jack Never Met a Bank He Didn't Like.
Oh my God.
To rob.
Nicely done, sir. It was a beautiful pause. Nice beat.
You had to give it that beat.
You have to give it that beat.
Yes.
Oh man, Bloody Jack?
Bloody Jack.
I can't wait. Y'all, I'm hearing this first time with you, so
Yeah. And the beer pairing for this episode is not because of the name or the style of the beer per se, but Jack hated alcohol.
What?
So I picked a beer that was nice and strong.
I already hate this dude.
Yes.
So I'm glad you picked a strong one.
This one's from Steamworks Brewing in Burnaby. It is the Imperial Breakfast Stout, and it was brewed with waffles, toasted oats, vanilla bean, and maple syrup.
What?
And it's 10.5% alcohol. I've never had this before. I didn't even know it existed.
I'm so excited. Y'all, I can't wait to see his face.
And it is nice and extremely dark.
Yeah.
It's got a nice brown, like light brown head on it.
Does it smell like breakfast?
It's definitely kind of that chocolatey, vanilla, sweet, roasty thing going on. Yeah, it's really, really nice on the nose.
My mouth is literally watering.
Yeah. It's pretty roasty, actually. It's definitely on the roastier side than the sweet side.
Yeah.
But then it does have a good vanilla and chocolate sweetness, some sort of caramelly notes in there, I guess.
Would
bitter.
Would the vanilla and caramel come from like the waffle syrup kind of a thing?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I was actually hoping this would be a little sweeter just because of what was going into it. This sounds like it would be like a pastry stout. And it's definitely on the roast side.
Were you hoping that they just grabbed all the extras from like IHOP and they just dropped it in there?
Well, I don't want IHOP because I want to make sure it's real maple syrup.
Ooh, shots fired, man.
Yes.
I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it. That's solid.
Alrighty. So, John Larry Krafchenko, known as Jack, was born in Romania to Ukrainian parents in 1881.
God, first off, it's a name. I totally see why he goes by Jack.
Yeah. But no one seems to know what day he was born or what month or anything. They just know that he was born in 1881. It's a long fucking time ago. I could not find his parents' names, but his father was a gambler, drinker, and partier who was a blacksmith by trade.
Nothing goes better than alcohol and blacksmithing.
I agree.
Why'd I think you knew it? Why'd I think you would?
Yeah, exactly. His mother was known to have stolen horses in Greece, where she would dress up as a man and head to where the horses were kept, but people would see a woman who was very well dressed leaving with horses. So she'd show up as a man and leave as a woman. So they just...
Ingenious.
Yes.
That's so smart. You know what? Kudos to you. You screwed your son up, but great job. That's really impressive.
Safe to say that Jack had an interesting life as a child. His parents would pull the pin on their lives in Romania, or wherever they were at the time, and jump on a ship to Canada.
The culture shock.
Yeah, not an easy feat in 1888. And they would not stop on the coast, but make their way to Manitoba, to a small town named Plum Coulee, just over 100 kilometers or 62 miles from the capital, Winnipeg.
Can you imagine getting to, like, you finally arrive, you've survived the ship, right?
Yeah.
And you set foot, and you're like, I just need to take a break. Can we find an inn? And Dad's like, nope, we got another 5 days.
Yeah,
Let's
least.
do it. At least. At the very least.
Yes. Now, 7-year-old Jack would learn a new culture, language, and way of life. At some point, his mother would pass away from something that seems to have been lost to time, sort of like their names. His father would remarry, though, to a German woman named Catherine, and while she was always very strict, she would always support her troubled stepson. And I mean, my God, like, could you be any more Canadian than Ukrainian, Romania? It's all this, like, people from all
Not
over the
in that
bloody
area.
place.
You know, as we talked about last, couple weeks ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a combination of so many different places, but also there's a huge, like, Ukrainian, Russian,
Yeah.
Mennonite. I mean, it's huge. So, I mean, it checks out.
Yep. So Jack got into trouble early in life, being arrested already on November 30th, 1892, at the age of 11 for stealing a handful of watches.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I was almost going to feel bad, like he stole, like, a handful of, like, peanuts or something. But no. We went for the full kit and caboodle.
He would get off with only a warning that time. He would steal a bike at 15 and end up in the slammer, but information is a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
We know that while he did attend a Sunday school, he attended very little regular school.
The
Religious
values
school
then?
over, yeah.
Child labor? Yeah. You got to go to Sunday school, but fuck English class.
Yeah.
Or French class, or whatever.
This didn't make him a dumb kid, just someone who had trouble with authority, most likely. He was fluent in German, Ukrainian, Russian, Bulgarian, Italian, and English. A ridiculous feat in the late 1800s and early 1900s in my book.
That's insane. That is.
I can barely speak English.
That's very. I mean, it's for me too. Like, I make shit up as I go.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Kudos to him for that.
Yeah. Jack also had a famous temper that got him into a ton of trouble. Once he got out of jail for stealing that bike, he decided he needed a change of pace. He decided to move to Australia and would do just that.
Oh, I might throw another shrimp on the barbie.
I mean, we're talking about late 1800s, early 1900s here, and he's just fucking off to Australia now.
I can't
that's
imagine,
a huge deal.
I can't imagine just like looking at a ship and being like, I'm ready for that couple-week trip.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Some sources said that he picked up boxing in Australia, but most said that he became a professional wrestler.
Okay. All right. I like this guy so far. I'm waiting for it to turn. I'm just waiting for it.
After a short stint as a wrestler down under, he would head back to North America and take up the wrestling profession and travel all over Canada and the United States, wrestling under the names of Australian Tommy Ryan and also Pearl Smith.
Pearl Smith. I had an Aunt Pearl. I mean, it works, Pearl Smith. For as much as I've studied kind of some of the wrestling history, I've never run across these two names.
Oh, probably not. This is, like I said, this is late 1800s. All good things come to an end, though, and his legit career would end in 1902 for whatever reason. With wrestling done, he would make his way back to Plum Coulee, Manitoba.
Such a cute name.
Yeah, I know, right? Now the real crimes would begin. Jack would start lecturing on the temperance movement around Canada. The real crime is trying to take alcohol away from people.
It's so true. Which is really funny because during our whole thing, right, when they abolished alcohol down here, we got it from you guys. So,
yep.
you know, like it was being smuggled from Canada. So,
well, our prohibition was much shorter.
Well, you guys were smarter.
Well, not all provinces, but most.
Okay. Well, some provinces were smarter.
Yeah. But in all reality, his real life of crime would begin on this tour as he would start passing off bad checks on unsuspecting people. He was able to pass bad checks throughout Manitoba, but would be caught in the act in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Haha.
Today on our roads, that is 580 kilometers or 360 miles. So that might have been even longer back then.
Yeah.
Also remember that in 1904, there were not a lot of motor cars yet. As in 1913, there were only 50,000 in all of Canada.
Wow.
That was a crazy stat that I found.
That is an insane stat. I understand it, but, you know, I don't like it.
So, this trip was likely done by train or horse and buggy. But trains were a lot slower back then, too. But let's get back to the crime. Jack would be sentenced to 18 months in prison for passing bad checks to be served in Prince Albert's Penitentiary. Yes, Prince Albert.
Prince Albert. It was located in a can.
Yeah.
You've heard that phrase, right?
No.
It's a prank phone call. You ask people if they have Prince Albert in a can, and if they say yes, then you say, "Well, you better let him out," and then you hang up.
Oh my. Oh well, at least it's not a piercing then.
I mean, I didn't say it was a good prank phone call.
Yes.
I just said it was a prank phone call.
True. Of course, this prison is named after the town, not the piercing. But I'm sure that was. But I'm sure it was full of Richards, anyways.
For sure.
Yes, I wrote that.
You did. You're on a government watch list now.
Perfect. Jack almost didn't make it to the prison, though, as he was transferred via train, and he would see an opening and jump out of an open window of the train.
Whoa! Well, they didn't move very fast, right?
No. The guard would jump out right after him, and as Jack was cuffed, it was easy to catch him again. Imagine jumping out of a train with your hands cuffed. Like, you can't even, protect yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the need and will to get out, you know. It's like, I'll figure this out later. Fuck.
Yeah. Now, with him trying to escape on the way to the jail, this did not stop Jack from getting onto a work detail outside of the prison.
What? What? What?
Yeah, somehow he would get the job of painting the outside walls of the penitentiary.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Jack was a man of action and an opportunity, and he would take this chance and smash the guard over the head with a paint can, and he and 3 others would escape.
Oh my God, you gave him a paint can.
Yeah.
Give the man a roller and one of those plastic things to roll.
Back then it wouldn't be plastic.
Well, listen. Specifics.
Yeah. The 3 other unnamed escapees would all get caught soon after, but Jack was a slippery bugger, and he would sneak back to Manitoba.
God.
He was out of prison and living life, but it didn't take long for him to cause trouble again, as he would hold a money shipment up with a firearm. The shipment was $2,500 sometime between 1902 and 1905, but it was closer to 1902. An inflation calculator that I found for Canada only goes back to 1914, but that year that would have been over $63,000. So that's not a small amount of money.
No, not at all. I assume by gun you mean syrup tap.
Yes.
That was borderline racist, I'm sure. Or nationalist or whatever.
Nationalist, probably. I don't know. It was a NIST. So with this cash, he would flee south to the United States, being lucky that it was only 32 kilometers or 22 miles via road. So it didn't take long.
It's a little jaunt.
Yeah. His career as a bank robber would begin in New York.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, far
Canada.
in the east, where he would rob multiple banks. Seeing as his welcome was wearing thin in New York, he would sneak on board a ship bound for England. This fucker travels like we do today, and I can't afford to travel this much.
It's so true. Well, I mean, I guess if you rob some banks, you've got some money to burn, right?
Yeah, and months to burn, I guess. Jesus.
What else is he doing, right? Nothing.
It's true.
So let's go. Let's go hop on the Mayflower.
Exactly. He would make it to England undetected and go right back to robbing banks. He would rob banks in England, Germany, and Italy.
My God. Can you imagine just the media cycle if somebody like that was today?
Yeah,
like
I know, right?
Jesus.
Italy might have been the home of his best bank robbery. It was a masterclass in robbing banks. While in the city of Milan in Italy, he would rob a bank where he would lock the bank manager in the vault after looting it. He would then manage to sneak out of the bank unnoticed. So what does a bank robber do holding all that loot? He joined the crowd and watched the police respond.
Hey, did you see the guy who did that? No? Good.
No. I have to guess his welcome in Italy was running out as he would move to Russia now.
Yeah. Oh, gee, wait, what?
Yes.
He decided to do around the world in 80 robberies.
Yeah, exactly. I should have called this that.
Oh, well,
that's good.
You know, if somebody wants to buy the rights to that name, you can create a movie. I'm surprised there's no movie about this guy.
True. Here he would marry a woman named Fancia, I think her name is, and they would have a son. Well, I didn't read about any bank robberies in Russia. They would only last 1 year there together, and then he would pack them up, and they would move back to Plum Coulee, Manitoba, in 1906.
They boarded a ship, they landed on land, and he said, "We've got a 5-week trip." Just like his dad.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, thinking back, this man was, if he was going to be predisposed or if he was going to go the route of crime, he literally was set up for international crime with his with knowing, being fluent in all those languages.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So Jack would pick up an honest job when they arrived back in Canada, but that doesn't not mean that he was on the straight and narrow by any means. That job would follow in his father's footsteps, though, as he would become a blacksmith.
Oh.
His love of bank vaults would see him rob a bank still in 1906 in a nearby town, and he would get caught.
Oh.
This would lead to him spending 3 years in Stony Mountain Penitentiary.
If you just stopped at Stony Mountain, it sounds like a resort.
Yeah. Of course, this was not right away, as he would escape the United States again. He would be caught in 1908, where he would testify in Thomas Henry Hicks' trial, where he was charged with killing Eccles Lennox, who was in a sleeping car in the Canadian Pacific Rail Yards. So Jack Krafchenko would claim that the gun that killed Eccles was his, although he was not the killer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my gun, but I didn't kill the fucker. Right?
I was gonna say I've never heard somebody like admit that it was the murder weapon was mine,
and they weren't the ones going to trial.
But it weren't me.
It weren't me. And it, yeah, I don't know, right?
Oh God. We've said this a couple of times, or I have. It's like the equivalent of being like, no. That's your defense. That's it. No.
Yeah. So Hicks would get off of the murder charges, but Jack would end up sent to prison for the bank robbery.
Yeah.
So his testimony led to him getting sent back to Canada.
Oh, God.
Again, he would spend 3 years in prison for the bank robbery. Probably because of his reputation, he would move his family to Northern Ontario, where he would get a job as a boilermaker for a railway.
Not the drink.
No.
The profession.
His job was with National Transcontinental Railway Shops, He would make it there until the summer of 1913, as he would be fired for his temper.
You don't say. You don't say.
This time he would head back to Winnipeg, Manitoba. Remember, now he was a big speaker on the temperance movement, right?
Right.
Well, when he got back to Winnipeg, he would drink and gamble as all good hypocrites do.
Ah, we've become a father.
Yes.
We all become a father.
Seeing as Jack had all kinds of acquaintances in the underworld of Winnipeg and down to Plum Coulee, the police chief of Winnipeg, Donald McPherson, would pay Jack to be an informant.
What?
This guy's fucking nuts.
I'm telling you, this guy's... I think if we knew more about his early life, this would have been a movie already.
I think it should still be, because they always make shit up anyways.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? We're going to make it. You're Jack.
Oh, okay. I can't speak all those languages, and I'm not good at faking it either.
We'll dub it. It'll be fine. Special effects, baby. Special effects.
Yeah. So they had a troublesome group of thieves working in the area, and they wanted them caught. But Jack is a thief and an outlaw, so he took the money with absolutely no intention of giving the police a bit of information.
He's playing all sides.
Yes.
This guy's amazing. I'm not angry at this dude yet. I'm just not.
The beginning of the end for Jack would come in 1913. He would first be arrested on November 2nd as he was suspected of robbing a resort, and he had 2 revolvers that were fully loaded on him.
Well...
He would be let go, though, and he would state that he thought the arrest was only because he ripped off the Winnipeg police chief.
That sounds like more of like a brag.
Yeah.
To still be like
yeah,
love me in the underworld, you know,
exactly.
kind of a thing. Yeah.
So being back in Plum Coulee in November a few times, he had the bright idea of robbing a bank in a town where his face was very well known.
Oh, that's fun.
Basically, the hometown troublemaker after all this was a bad idea, right? The target would be the Bank of Montreal in town, but he needed some new guns for this caper.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah. He would head back to his home in Winnipeg, where he would try a new form of fraud similar to passing bad checks. He headed to Hinston Smith Arms Company on November 18th, 1913, where he would order 6 Winchester rifles, as well as a 9mm Browning automatic and a 7.65 Luger handgun. That Browning would be now fully illegal in Canada, although as of October 2022, there is a full freeze on any sale or import of and export of handguns in Canada.
Can you imagine being the guy that he bought them from? Like, what do you need this for, sir? I'm shooting fish in a barrel.
Just wait though. Just wait.
Oh boy.
Jack would ask the store owner to ship the handguns to his hardware store in Plum Coulee, but he would take the 2 handguns with him. The invoice would be sent to the unsuspecting shop owner in Plum Coulee. So he didn't even pay for them.
That's the best.
Well, he would never see those rifles. They were always a distraction anyways. Like, this guy is just... I mean, yeah, he's a criminal, but it's just too epic.
It really is. It's still, you know, and you might get to this, so I'll hold on the question that I'm going to ask until the very end. So
okay.
Keep going.
Wednesday, December 3rd, 1913, would see Jack walk into the Bank of Montreal in Plum Coulee wearing a heavy coat and a handkerchief, or a fake beard, on his face. Using his 9mm Browning, he would hold Henry Medley Arnold, the bank manager, up and steal $4,200, or in today's money, $106,890.
Wow.
Once the money was in his possession, he would flee the bank. Seeing as this was a ton of money at the time, the bank manager, Henry, would chase after him.
Balls of steel, that man.
Yeah. Jack would turn and fire one shot that would strike Henry Arnold and kill him instantly.
That answered my question.
Yeah.
I wondered if he had actually ever killed anybody.
There you go.
There it is.
It was then that he would jump into a waiting cab driven by William Dick.
There's the Richard.
Yeah. William would claim that Jack had threatened him and made him wait for him outside the bank. Being a small town, it is plausible that he would know and fear Jack, and that Jack might just know where he lived.
Yeah.
There would be 3 witnesses to the shooting that day. 2 could only give descriptions of a person they saw due to the disguise, but a young school kid named Mary Dorkson, I think it is, was able to identify Jack by name.
Oh, he said, I know him.
Mary, so she, but yes.
I know him.
I know him.
I know him.
There would be a coroner's inquest into the murder on December 4th, and the result would come in on December 8th. The verdict was that, quote, the late H.M. Arnold came to his death by reason of a bullet wound through the ribs and the left lung and was shot from a revolver by disguised men, unknown to us, but the evidence that has been produced points strongly to the fact that the disguised man was John Krafchenko.
I like the coroner's report that's like, the man that was shot died because he was shot.
Yes.
I mean, that's a horrible way to go because, like, I mean, anything like that is a bad way to go, but you've literally shot and you've collapsed a lung.
Yeah, like bounced through the ribs, through the lung.
I can't imagine that it was an immediate death. So.
And, like, nowadays, there's a better chance you'd survive, but back then, if it wasn't instant, you would die slowly and painfully.
Oh, that's the worst. And if you didn't die from the actual gunshot, you were definitely going to die from any kind
infection
of like
and stuff.
Exactly.
So once in the car, William would drive Jack out of town, but not far, as it was only a few kilometers out of town, where he would ask to be let out. So Jack would threaten to kill William Dick if he didn't keep his lips sealed about this drive, and he asked him to have a really good story if anyone asked what he'd been doing.
The problem is that he told it to him in 5 different languages.
Yeah.
So Mr. Dick never knew what he said.
So he would slowly make his way back up to Winnipeg, where he would rent a room. He didn't keep a low profile, though, as when he rented a room at 546 William Avenue, he would tell the landlord, Martha Thomas, that he was a doctor named Dr. Fairchild, and he was from Oak Point, and he was in Winnipeg to do an amputation.
He literally could have used a different language and acted like somebody else. Instead, he went with this cockamamie scheme of, I'm Dr. Fairchild.
Yeah. So the next day he would move to a new place at 439 College Ave, and this time he was a teacher at St. John's College, and his name was Andrews Given.
Okay, at this point he sounds like a villain worthy of an Austin Powers film.
Yeah. Bloody Jack would make a mistake here and talk to a few of his buddies in Winnipeg to try and find some help to get out of town. He had a plan to leave town dressed as a woman and needed some people to facilitate the escape.
He said, I need you guys' help. Do you need a dress? No, I got that. I just...
Yeah. Well, I mean, he learned this from his mom, right?
You're not wrong.
So his friend Benjamin Rolfe was a taxi driver, and he would tell the former police chief of Jack's whereabouts. Oopsie.
My bad. There
is also some scuttlebutt that it could have been William Stephenson, a then teenager who would go on to become a World War II super spy for Canada, nicknamed the man called Intrepid, that turned him into the police.
He gave him his start.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So, I think, did you mention him, the William Stephenson?
Yeah. That's the dude that Ian Fleming said.
Yeah, because I said right here, he was even one of the few inspirations for Ian Fleming's James Bond after his exploits in the war. But back to Jack.
You see, people don't understand how we accidentally create these connections, right?
Yes.
You know, I mean, totally on purpose.
Exactly. This part about his arrest is a quote from Winnipeg Regional Real Estate News.
Oh, jeez. God.
Based on Rolfe's information, Krafchenko was arrested on December 10th, 1913 at 439 College Ave by Winnipeg Police Chief McPherson, Deputy Chief Newton, Chief of Detective Smith, Inspector Hedson, and Provincial Police Chief Elliott.
They weren't.
So, I mean,
fucking
this is
around.
like you're not fucking around. These are all the chiefs and everything, right?
Jesus.
While no shots were fired during the arrest, the Browning and Luger guns were found in Krafchenko's room, loaded and within his reach. A total of $1,550 in Bank of Montreal notes were recovered. $810 was found hidden beneath the fence near the front door of the house. An additional $740 that Krafchenko had given to Benjamin Rolfe was turned over to the chief.
Wow.
So he'd first be arrested on a different charge before they had all the evidence. They needed to charge him with the murder on December 22nd, 1913.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the Winnipeg police would hand him over to the provincial police, as it was now their matter.
You take him.
Yeah, you deal with him. His preliminary trial would start on January 5th, 1914, and he would be held in Winnipeg police courts, where he would have his lawyer, Percy Hagel, as his representation.
Percy Hagel.
Yeah.
He sounds like a penguin.
He does. On January 9th, it was decided that his trial would take place in March in Morden, Manitoba. He would make his way back to the cell in the same building as the court, where he would have 2 officers guarding him. The officers were Robert Reed and William Flower. Jack loved to tell stories to his lawyer and the guards about his money, diamonds, and all the jewelry that he had.
He had.
Yeah, that he had. Bank robber and all. It would make sense that he had all these kinds of valuables, as he was very successful in his crimes.
Mm-hmm.
William Flower gave no shits about the stories, but unfortunately for Winnipeg, both his lawyer, Hagel, and the guard, Robert Reed, were definitely interested in some of Jack's riches.
Mm-hmm.
Percy and Robert would meet either at the Clarendon Hotel or at Percy's law office to come up with a plan that would help spring Jack.
Oh my God. This story just keeps going. Like, not in a bad way.
No,
but like,
I
it
know,
just doesn't
right?
Stop.
You think
know?
he would be done, and no, it just goes. They would talk 2 other men into helping with the plan in John Buxton and John Westlake. Westlake had worked at one time at the law firm, while Buxton used to be a caretaker for the building the law firm was located in. The plan would end up being to sneak a gun and a rope into the cell so that Bloody Jack could use it to escape his cell. It was a bulletproof plan to boot, as he would escape, but it didn't quite happen as planned.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
The escape would go down on January 10th, 1914, as he would pull the gun that he had hidden under his mattress and point it at the guards. The same 2 guards were there that night, and Jack would say, quote, "I'm going to leave here, boys, and I'll kill anyone who tries to stop me. Go into the closet and don't come out to try to call for help for 10 minutes.
Set your watch.
The cell keys would be thrown to him, and he would let himself out of the cell and lock the officers in a closet. One of the keys also unlocked the photography room, and this room had a window with no bars. He would tie off the rope and climb out the window. Sadly, the rope was given was only a clothesline, and it was thin and would break while Jack was still 30 feet up in the air.
Oh, my God.
He would sprain both knees, one ankle, and hurt his back.
Oh.
He was absolutely a mess, and he would be unable to run out of town right away. He was just too broken from the fall.
Literally.
It is believed Percy Hagel, his lawyer, picked him up and drove him to John Westlake's home. It is not known for sure, but the original date for the escape was 2 days earlier, but Percy didn't show up. January 12th, there would be a royal commission call to try and piece together how Jack could escape from the prison, as it was obvious that he had some accomplices.
Yep.
You don't just get rope and a gun in a jail cell.
These days, I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything. But yes, I catch your
Yeah, meth in a backpack on a pigeon.
What a meth.
So Robert Reed would be called to testify, and after 10 hours, he would finally break. This testimony on January 17th, 1914, would land both him and the lawyer Percy Hagel in jail. Robert Reed would be suspended from the force after pleading guilty and would be sentenced to 7 years in prison. Reed was only in his 30s, but would never leave prison, as he would die there. Percy Hagel would end up with a 3-year sentence and also be disbarred in Manitoba.
I would hope so. This
Yes.
isn't New York. The criminals get added to the bar.
So let's back up a little bit here. Jack would spend some time at Westlake's home as well as inside the security storage building. They would then plan to move him back to the original location as he was still quite beaten up, but their friend that set him up at their place of work was getting spooked. He just needed him out of the workplace. The police would get tipped off about this move, though, and late in the evening of January 18th, 1914, dozens of police would descend on the building. As can be expected, the excitement would bring out all of the onlookers and press.
Yeah, Pat.
There wasn't TV back then.
No. You had to go watch the hanging.
Yeah. They would miss Jack, though, and they would speed off to the other location that the tip gave.
Oh, my God.
It would be 11 p.m. when they arrived. The room Jack was in was noted to have, quote, a couch bed, a dresser, and 2 chairs. One chair had a pack of matches, packet of tobacco, and a candle. For some reason, the power in the building was out that night. End of quote. So this is a quote from West End Dumplings website. The Tribute reports a typically Canadian arrest scenario. McPherson said to be the unarmed fugitive. Play fair, Jack. We'll play fair with you. Krafchenko is said to have replied, I'm all in. I don't want any shooting, boys. The two then shook hands and McPherson placed him under arrest. The police then had to help the injured man to the police car that whisked him to Headingley Jail's highest security cell.
Oh, arrested with a handshake.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so fucking bizarre.
It's like Judas and Jesus, betrayed with a kiss, arrested with a handshake. Jesus.
John Westlake and John Buxton would also be arrested. Westlake would get 2 years in prison for his part, while John Buxton was said to have handed the gun and rope over for the escape. It turns out that he was also the informant used to sentence multiple people involved and would get immunity and help to move to the United States. Things didn't go well for Bloody Jack Krafchenko at his trial that started in April of 1914, where he would plead not guilty to the murder of Arnold. He claimed that there was a second bank robber that fateful night. Of course, that was bullshit, and he would be found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging.
Oh, all right, Jack.
He would be hanged on July 9th, 1914 at 7 a.m.
I would imagine that a hanging sucks, but a hanging at 7 a.m. sucks even worse.
Yeah. Well, seeing as Jack was a celebrity criminal, a huge crowd said to be of 2,000 people would stand outside of Vaughan Street Jail where the execution took place.
My God.
And it wasn't a public execution. They just stood outside the jail.
They still do these days. They just stand there.
Yeah. It's worth noting that Percy Hagel would get out of prison after 3 years and even be able to join the Manitoba Bar again in 1922 and would practice law until his death in 1944.
What is this?
Now, Hollywood loves to glorify guys like Jesse James, an American outlaw that was from a generation just before Jack, but he was a man that fought for the Confederates and never changed. He was also kind of boring. Jack Krafchenko now was a worldwide criminal in the late 1800s and early 1900s, could speak a ton of languages while never going to school, and broke out of prison multiple times. How is this man not the main character in a dozen movies? Fuck Jesse James. I want to see a Jack Krafchenko story told.
Played by Leo DiCaprio, directed by Martin Scorsese. I can think of no better.
Well, he's already been in Catch Me If You Can.
Well, I mean...
And that wasn't even based on real... That was all bullshit.
Catch Me If You Can, The Departed. He's ready for it, you know?
Diamond.
Blood, yeah. Just put him in the movie. Dude, it's already him. He doesn't have to do much.
True. Oh my God. Well, we hope you've enjoyed that, and maybe we can start a petition trying to get a movie made out of this.
I think we should. I really do. I think we should write the script and shop it around, my friends.
Yeah, no shit.
We need one more thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're not busy enough.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, that is the story of Bloody Jack Krafchenko.
That's such a great story. That's probably one of the best cases that I've heard in a long time, friend.
Other than that murder, like, hero criminal.
I know, let's just move the murder to the side. Honestly, the fact that he only killed one person in all of that we know.
Yeah.
Of,
that we know of,
That's impressive as hell.
Yeah. Other than he hating booze and trying to make it illegal while drinking it. Yeah. Crazy dude.
The world is one big hypocrite.
It is. All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. If you can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime Group. If you would like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, 3 Beers In Podcast, and the Faves of Our Lives. Peace.
Bye.
Don't rob a bank, but go travel the world.
Bloody Jack!
All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast. So what does a bank robber, what? Oh yeah. Excuse me.
Some waffles, baby.
Burpee. Keep his lips sealed about this drive, and he had given, what? 1 sec, sorry. Oh yeah. Stepson, a then teenager who would go on to become, what? Sorry, 1 sec. Oh yeah. There was also some scuttlebutt that it could also, what am I going on here? Be unable to run away, so, or run it, or this testimony,